Hi and welcome everybody. Good having you here. I mean, it's late afternoon, but you know what? Happy to see so many faces, so thank you for joining. So guys, IoT, the IoT Summit, we're going to talk about the latest IoT technological innovation and development, meeting the enterprise market challenges and opportunities. So a mouthful, and but I'm really happy and honored to have Valentina Del Borgo next to me, who will share with us her, of course, again, fabulous presentation. And but before we do so, I would like to give the word to my fellow panelists, Roy, Dwayne, and Max. So Max, if I can may ask you quickly to introduce yourself to the audience. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Max Röttgermann. I'm from Deutsche Telekom Global Carrier. I'm a senior product manager for IP and DDoS defense solutions. I'm with Deutsche Telekom for 2 decades, or more than 2 decades already. And my background is technology and innovation management with a master's. And my primary job is to interconnect the networks and to make sure, so the CT network, and to make sure that it's all very well protected from a DDoS point of view, especially. Thanks.
Roy, let's go over to you.
Hi, glad to be here. So I am a principal at AvidThink, a research and advisory firm. We are analysts covering the infrastructure technology space, which includes things like 5G, obviously, 5G, private 5G, edge computing, and some elements of IoT, but mostly only the infrastructure side of the business, so the back end of IoT primarily.
Thank you very much, and good having you, Roy. And last but not least, Dwayne, good having you.
Hi, I'm Dewan Young. I'm with Verizon's Partner Solutions Group. I'm the head of marketing for our business unit for all of our products across IoT, wireless, wireline, security, and data center. Glad to be here today.
And now we would like to share a bit more about the IoT solution. Of course, in Europe, we just started. However, we have a great deal of experience in China, and I'd like to share maybe some ideas and show what we are doing. So just a tiny bit about China Mobile. We're the biggest mobile in the world with nearly 1 billion subscribers. And on the connectivity side, we are also quite advanced on the 5G development, of course. And on the connectivity IoT side, we basically put all the investment in, let's say we have multiple company. We are also the device company and the alliance, IoT alliance company, etc. But let's say the part of the group of China Mobile that developed the IoT is China Mobile IoT company. There's been going on for more or less 20 years, started with M2M, and now is an incubator of everything we own. So from the platform to the devices, etc. And we really reach 980 million IoT connection, and we are on the right track, I think, to do a lot more. You can see, I think, staggering numbers also for the alliance. So how we describe the ecosystem. And just 1,700 partners, it tells a lot of how big is our ecosystem now and how much we're trying to develop it. Yeah, just on a brief side, on the IoT in domestic China, we do all the layers of the IoT solution, from the chip modules to the connectivity management platform, and also some smart hardware, and also the platform like device platform and application enablement platform. So everything is on, let's say, self-developed, and but of course, as we said, we also work a lot with other partners. Specifically, I work for China Mobile International, which is the international entity of China Mobile Group. And under my responsibility, there is all this product from the connectivity part to the, let's say, all the mobility-related products for messaging, also IPX, sponsor roaming, and IoT. I think what we want to really push today, also because we are here to show what we're going to do in Europe is partnership. So in IoT, as we all know, nobody can do anything by themselves. So I really would like to give some real example of how we partner with IoT players or MNO or even some, all the customer we're talking to at the moment. So there are, I mean, this is quite self-explanatory, so I can move on. Definitely, we are here to help with everything that you need in China and Asia Pac, either connectivity or even a platform solution or IoT solution end-to-end. But in Europe, we can also help with IoT solution deployment, platform and platform as a service, especially, and also some 5G consultancy. The MNO, MVNO, MVNE, etc., system integration IoT players can definitely help us to deploy our solution in Europe and globally. So giving us the connectivity or the technical support, the local knowledge, and definitely the contact with the customer. So we could have explained where are the most successful, like the shortlisted verticals that China Mobile wants to focus on. However, I thought we give you some real example of what we did for IoT solutions. So the first customer case is in China. Actually, the customer is a MNO, and they are European, and they needed to provide a solution in China for a courier company. So we provided a smart tracker, we provided the connection, the connectivity, we provided the deployment and the data analytics, etc. So this is a European MNO, but needed a solution in China. In China, for us, is easy. We can really do everything. So it's up then to the IoT player or the MNO finding these opportunities with their enterprise customers. And as you say, we want to show here, the issues to resolve, where fleet management solution, the customer needs to know where the parcel is, where the truck is, how the driver is doing his job, and of course the real-time location for the parcels. So the deployment was actually a solution in China with IoT connectivity, sensor, deliver or in delivering in over 6,000 trucks. And then we also provide a SaaS platform development and software development as well. So just for the icon of the partnership, you can see in this solution, China Mobile is almost doing all the part of the business, apart from the platform, because our clients already had their own platform, so they just merely needed kind of an integration with ours, and the connection to the customer, which is is theirs. The other solution is actually a global solution. Customer also an MNO. The end user is a port service provider. So this customer is mainly transporting the cargo on truck, terrestrial. They needed to locate the cargo, they needed data analytics, they need to improve the service to the clients. And so the solution was really set up of tracking devices, give a solution for the GPS location, and for trucks and train traveling across China, Kazakhstan, Russia, and Belarus, Poland, Germany, France, and Spain. So this really show how global solution can be done as well, and always for an MNO. So these cases are actually real. So they might be difficult to find. However, it's possible, and this is where the most money are made and the most value we create. So in this, for example, we offer the IoT connectivity and the tracking. So on the partnership side, you can see the first side of the solution is made by China Mobile, but then everything there is business development, local implementation, and customer service after is also looking after by our own MNO customers. Two other examples in Europe, which could be quite inspiring, I think. The first was, I wanted to share this one, is a smart logistic park, which is, so the customer is an IoT company, which they are already providing the LoRaWAN to their customer, and the end user is the logistic company. So what is China Mobile doing here? So in this one, we actually provided consultancy on how to integrate the different technology and the different company involved in this project. So we have a IoT company already providing some of the, let's say the LoRaWAN connectivity to the customer and some of the platform. There are some hardware to be deployed. So we also suggested which, some of our brand, China Mobile brand or other vendors for the hardware and the sensors. And then we also offer security of the outdoor. So cameras and so a smart parking solution, etc. Security for whoever is entering, so like a AI security solution connecting to the smart cameras. So for this one, actually, we provide a consultancy. So we put together all the players delivering this solution, and we give our consultancy on devices, our suggestion, and we also put together, connecting the LoRaWAN to the LoRaWAN platform, to the video surveillance vendor platform, etc. So in this one, you can see is really a mix and match of everybody working together from the first, point to the first stage to the end. Another interesting deployment we did in Germany is, in this case, the customer is an enterprise, but actually the partner is the MNO. So this is just to give a real example how we can work together with the other MNO, our brothers and sisters. So in this case, it was basically we have to deploy a big number of smart smoke detectors on a big warehouse, and we provided the gateway and the smoke detectors. Also, we deploy our Ringa platform, which is the application enablement platform. And we also help the customer with some big screen, alert management, and also the mobile app. So in this case, we needed the network, and we got the LTE SIM provided by the local operator. So also this one is, okay. So, yeah, I think this is extremely interesting because it shows how we can work together with the other MNO. And I will explain a bit more what actually is Ringa. So Ringa is, sorry, I cannot stay in this page, I don't know why. There's like a glitch on the presentation. But let's say Ringa is our SaaS platform, is application enablement platform, and it's called in China OneNet, but we rebranded it in the European market as Ringa. You can actually download this platform through Apple and Google Store already. It's under Ringa X. And what we are doing now is, I just also wanted to explain that is at the moment deployed in AWS in Dublin. but it can be white label, it can be basically customized for customer need. And for Ringa, we will basically use it. For example, we show the customer case in the warehouse solution, but we did a big push for smart home solution. We have a big wide range of products that we can combine, delivering both the platform and the devices. But of course, the concept is the same. So deploying in a smart home or a building or a factory or a campus, it just it works at the same way. So we will just add on more products, add some perhaps even 5G private network for the campus, for example, or the factory. So this is actually available now in Europe. Today, I also like to announce a specific partnership that we will have with Dahua Technologies. In China, we become one of the shareholders of Dahua. Dahua is one of the biggest, the world leader in video surveillance camera, but now they are really moving into so much more than that. So for Europe, it will really give us support that we need in terms of also certification of hardware and ideas, and definitely I think it really be a good partner. And as we mentioned a lot about ecosystem, this is in China we have everything. We have really complex ecosystem. In Europe we don't, so we need to build it now. And this is our way to do it. So partnership with MNO, IoT players, technology providers, vendors, etc. I just have a brief video on Dahua. I think it will be interesting to see. And also I'd like to say that for whoever is interested, Dahua is actually here with us today. So maybe even tomorrow if we can convince them. And then it will be good if you have any questions really to talk to them. So maybe I just make this starting.
Dahua Technology is a world-leading video-centric smart IoT solution and service provider. We adhere to ingenuity in redefining international smart factories. We provide customers around the world with the reliable service and quality, and our innovative products are second to none. Dahua Technology focuses on video as its core business, where we integrate with intelligence and sensing technologies to build complete IoT products and solution systems. Through artificial intelligence and powerful computing, we can help build a comprehensive and truly digital world. We help create the intelligence of everything and ensure that many vertical markets can be enhanced and protected. Dahua Technology is leading the intelligent twins evolution. We also provide continuous protection for smart cities and emergency response. We implement systematic coordination for smooth traffic systems and convenient journeys where our systems are placed. We establish the overall management and operation of industrial parks in order to ensure their safety and efficiency. Dahua has built strong support for manufacturing stability and continued growth. We focus on business trends in order to tap into new opportunities and their potential value. Dahua Technology, driving innovation to an AIoT future.
Yeah, so just briefly, there will be multiple solutions we can do with Dahua, and they will allow us a smooth delivery in Europe, allow us to be compliance for the regulation and certification of the European market. But however, they will also help us to deliver maybe even outside Europe. So it can be for a project that you might have in Africa or Middle East, etc. Also, they are, let's say, happy to work with different SIM and then really engineering team in each European country, and they can really support us on deployment as well. Yeah, so on the solution, really, we can go into that perhaps in private meetings. But yeah, I just really wanted to show more or less the range of products that Dahua will be able to support us with in this slide. And then, of course, we can speak separately. And then also, I think maybe I have, okay, just this small one on the
At
product
Dahua
side.
Technology, we design our products, service and solutions to help make the world safer and more secure. Our technologies enable families, businesses and law enforcement services to detect and respond to safety and security risks more quickly, accurately and effectively than ever before. They also provide value add beyond security, such as enabling cities, businesses and other organizations to incorporate the visual data captured on our cameras as part of many innovative smart solutions. Dahua Technology, driving innovation to an AIoT future.
Eric, I take the liberty just to share a tiny bit more about the 5G. Then I think we can give more space to the fellow panelists as well later on. So on the 5G, really, the reason why we talk about 5G is because I wanted to also to show some of the deployment that has been done in China and something that could be interesting for the carrier here today, the audience. So on the yes, this was a slide that I shared this morning, so I don't want to maybe just to repeat myself. But basically, is part of the presentation of our chairman that I did was done in Barcelona last week, and it really shows how we will develop the different industrial how much 5G can announce some industrial applications and some of the milestones that we achieve, for example, establishing a 5G base station in Mount Everest and having also a 5G mine at 990 meters underground. This shows a bit about our 5G ecosystem in China. As mentioned, what we are doing in China is the full infrastructure development, but also connecting, let's say, the 5G with artificial intelligence, IoT, cloud, edge solutions, and big data. So this is really, let's say, holistic way, I think, to develop all these new technologies. And I know maybe it seems easier to do because it's China. However, it's also a matter of strategy and thinking this through. So I thought it was quite interesting to show. Some of the 5G application that we saw, that China at least saw more often, is really some of this is like a power grid, smart mining, smart education, smart city, smart sport and shipping, and smart manufacturing. I have another really short video on one of these Xiamen port. Sorry for the pronunciation, probably it's not really Chinese, but yeah, this is shows how the 5G transplantation system was delivered.
已经是全部覆盖了5G 的信号。那么一个集装箱从船上卸下来，然后要操作这个吊机，咱们的工作人员是必须要爬到吊机的顶上。
Sorry, I know the audio on this one, but I guess
那现在咱们的这个，而且呢，一个人出的时候可以
with the subtitle is fine.
吊机的一个操作，这就是 5G 给我们带来的一个变化。那我们现在看到这个集装箱已经是放到了下面的一个卡车上，这个卡车呢已经缓缓地向前移动了。 是一个障碍物，所以它已经自动的进行了一个避障、一个转弯的一个操作，然后呢，再回到咱们的运行的轨道上来。那么这辆车呢，就是基于5G 技术和 L4级的无人驾驶技术的集装箱卡车了。有人的话，它就会自动的来进行了一个停车。那现在呢，他们就是通过这样的这种各种各样的位置，那么它停车的误差不会超过，再也不需要了。这不但在建设成本上可以减少70%左右，而且呢，通过这个咱们
Yeah, sorry, there was no video, but anyway, it was in Mandarin, so probably it's okay like this. So this is another interesting, just a bit more fun a video on the 5G express train that was used during the Winter Olympics.
When fast-speed trains are equipped with fast-speed internet, exciting new possibilities emerge. They could take place on board this 5G Express, designed especially for the Winter Olympics.
This could be one of the most advanced studios in the world. It's embedded on a high-speed bullet train. The live transmission is stable, even while the train is moving. And I can also, without any delay, interact with a different person, hi there,
Hi.
who is actually in a different space. All of these technologies rely on 5G.
这个呀是我们总台自主研发的一个5G 加 4K 背包设备。大家都知道，以往的高铁的5G 网络体验，就是或者信号体验是很不好的。那么现在我们是想实现这在5G 网络下来去传输，并且在高铁全程最高时速有350公里的时候，我们怎么能够更稳定的把这个信号给传回去？这是最大的一个挑战。
During the Winter Olympics, this train will run back and forth between the two host cities, Beijing and Zhangjiakou. A fast, efficient, and fun transportation links for the athletes, staff, and volunteers.
In order to help more people get familiar with the Winter Olympics, there are many photos on this train that introduces winter sports items. For example, this one talks about cross-country skiing. And due to the fast-speed internet, you can watch the games live on this train. The dining car is reserved for the press. Now imagine it's a very enjoyable working experience. You can sit down and type, or enjoy the beautiful scenes outside.
5162这个是专门彰显这个冬奥元素的嘛，主要以这个冰雪蓝为点缀，然后雪花点缀，有这个运动中的气息，属于全国独一无二的一辆。
The train is a commute tool for many skiers, and that's why there are many lockers like this on this train for them to put in their snowboards. For example, they can buckle up their snowboards like this.
The Beijing-Zhangjiakou route actually has some interesting history. Built in the rugged mountains in the early 1900s, it was China's first self-developed railroad. Little did they know back then the transformations that would take place over the next 100 or so years, the two cities not only co-hosting a Winter Olympic Games, but using the most modern of technologies to connect them.
Very good. So thank you for your time today. And I think there is a lot more to talk about. So we really need your time, and looking forward to meet you all in another session. Thank you.
Thank you, Valentina, and if I may invite you to come sit with me, and let's get the guys, Roy, Dwayne, and Max to it as well. So if I may ask, Roy, if I can start with you, just because we're talking about the latest IoT technological innovation and developments, and to make sure that we meet the enterprise market challenges and opportunities. So can you give us a quick snapshot of what you see and what you understand from the IoT landscape? What are you seeing currently?
Yeah, so there's a couple of, I would say, major trends on the enterprise side. Obviously, it's hard to ignore the word 5G that sort of shows up everywhere. And I think that's one of the drivers behind the next wave of IoT again. I mean, it's always been the year of IoT as far back as I can remember. I think if all the panelists here, last 10 years is year of IoT. No, now it's really year of IoT. And now with 5G and AI and the edge is again the year of IoT. I think the reality is that IoT has been creeping up, and it's pretty much everywhere. If you look at your homes and you look at all the devices, your thermostats and all the like, it is IoT, right? And the reality is a lot of the industrial manufacturing, transformation, transportation, retail, those are all IoT fundamentally. And so it's been coming up. It's just maybe not the big explosion that we all anticipated. So I think, for 2022, what we are seeing is that it's an ongoing move to digitization, which I think is a big part of IoT, digitization and automation of business processes, of which many of those are not human related, they're device related. And so I think as a result of that digitization, cloudification, and digital transformation, IoT inevitably continues to rise. But aligned with that, what I'm seeing is a couple of things. One, the cloud platforms and hyperscalers are getting very serious about IoT. They have a big impact. Where we had many IoT platforms in the past, I'm seeing now a lot of the enterprises look very seriously at basically the cloud platforms. Because fundamentally, for a lot of IoT, the analysis and the analytics of the data is what they're after, and obviously acting on that analytics. And the cloud is a natural place for their processing. And so the hyperscalers coming in a big way. That's one. Second is the carriers are pushing very hard on the market, especially with the 5G rollout and NB-IoT. Again, it's folded under 5G, so it's also a 5G technology. So NB-IoT, Cat-M, right? They all come back again, right? Cat-1. And so we're seeing on the connectivity side, we're seeing a good amount of push around that, and that's simultaneous with the eSIM and iSIM and the new platforms making it much easier to get IoT out there. Along the lines. And then finally, the other element that we're seeing is sort of AI, ML as applied to the analytics from these devices, and then being able to use them and act on them, both in the cloud and also in the edge for real-time or near real-time operations as associated with IoT. There's a couple of things that we are, in fact, seeing change this year.
Okay, thank you, Roy. Dwayne, what's your take on the IoT landscape? What do you see around you?
Sure. So there's a lot of information in the presentation. Congratulations to everything that you were working on there and bringing to fruition, exciting things. As Roy and I have talked many times in the past about the future is every year that we're in, or in every year that we're talking. This is the year. I like that. So with IoT, I think we'll continue the proliferation of more connections. I think this has really been driven by the digital transformation that we've seen over the last 2 years with the pandemic, and the acceleration of digitization and the importance of digitization within enterprise businesses have really brought the use cases, as we saw in the presentation, to the forefront. And now how do you accelerate that with the convergence of so many technologies, from 5G to MEC to security and across the board, into your IoT landscape. So one of the key things that I took from the presentation is something that we work on a daily basis, is the interoperability between ourselves and other carriers, and the partnership that is important. A lot of our enterprise multinational companies are looking for global, simple, secure solutions. So they want all three. It's not just connectivity, but they want a global, simple, secure solution where interoperability and connections across the globe are important. And in order to do that, you have to have partnerships like the ones that were discussed earlier. So that's a key component for us, as well as kind of working with each partner on their digital transformation journey. And how we can play a role in that from a connectivity perspective. We always talk about that it's not just the devices, it's not just the network, but then as Roy mentioned, the cloud companies, the CSPs are really aggressively looking in the space, because they're hosting the applications that take the data that comes from these IoT devices and putting it into a useful manner. So there's so many convergence of technologies that are happening at the same time. And so collaboration, partnership, and continued progression forward is a critical piece.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Now, Max, tell us, because it's your thingy already for such a long time, especially on the security side. Help us, show us, lead us the way.
Yeah, I think we've shown here perfect examples of what's going on in the future and what we were wishing for and aiming for longest time. Yeah, so the very, very small devices spread it everywhere, gathering information together that needs to be processed somewhere. And this is done usually in cloud these days. And the devices need to be very efficient and very small, yeah, all these sensors. So that means on the device, there's not much of data processing actually. That's done all in a dedicated data center or in the cloud, and that means connectivity. So on the access part, 5G is a perfect example. So because this is the enabler for the connectivity of the devices on site, on the premise, but then it goes via the internet through various providers. Because if you have a global shipping company or a port company that is in the logistics field, you need to be globally available. And that means that there needs to be interoperability between various network providers on the access side and on the on the interconnectivity side, because we are investing so much effort in improving delays and improving data processing that we cannot afford to have any kind of congestion in between. And this is then the important part where you need to look at it from an end-to-end point of view. Yeah? So from the one device to the data center where the data is actually processed, or from one device and basically, for example, the customer interface who wants to check if his container or his packages is being delivered very soon. Yeah? And these all need to work together. And then also on top of it, the information needs to be, first of all, available, and it needs to be right, and it needs to be integer. So confidentiality and integrity plays a major role there as well. So in bringing these things all together on a global scale, that's, I think, still the largest upcoming thing we need to look at in the near future.
Okay, thank you, Max. Now, we are all, let's say, happy and enchanted by all the opportunities it gives us, of course, including the challenges. But do you agree with me, and maybe Dwayne, you can start, that one of the main challenges is to defend our infrastructures and our services. So because we face actually new challenges for cybersecurity. You know, how will the new technologies, also IoT, big data, 5G, AI, and you know, change this, is already changing the security arena, and what impact will it have in our fights between attackers and defenders? I know it's a mouthful, but please.
No, you're spot on. I think, you know, it's been an evolving landscape in which the threat landscape has only increased. As the proliferation of endpoints on our networks increases exponentially, the threat landscape changes. We, within Verizon, we publish our data breach investigative report every year. And so, you know, the threat landscape is one that's evolving such that there's from everything from ransomware to DDoS attacks to everything is on the increase that we're seeing. So the landscape, you know, the overall framework that IoT presents is that we are intentionally adding endpoints to our network at a significant rate. So, you know, whether you're talking about millions or billions of connections, that presents a threat to our networks that we have to make sure that we protect. And I think that from a framework perspective, it's important to look at, you know, cybersecurity from a holistic vantage point, and not just protecting an application or protecting one thing, but looking at it holistically in as you're looking to protect not only your network, your end users and everything. And, you know, ZTNA and other things that have come to the forefront in recent years, you know, are all looking at that and providing kind of a guidepost to that. But I think it's an evolving framework, and the threat landscape is only increasing.
Okay, thank you, Max.
Yeah, as Dwayne mentioned, so we have an exponential growth of devices connected to our network and to the internet itself. And this is an exponential target for hackers to acquire these devices for botnets, which we might suffer then from larger DDoS attacks or from more complex DDoS attacks, as we've seen in the past. But also the devices itself can be harmed, breached, or attacked. Yeah. So imagine you look at a farming use case. Yeah. Where there's a sensor that measures the solar and the sunshine intensity and the rain, and then it steers some watering sensors. And imagine these sensors are not giving the right information, and there is no farmer to physically look at if his field is properly watered. And the sensor says, yeah, it's watered, it's all fine. And then imagine later down the year, he looks at his field and then he realized there was no watering for a good amount of weeks and all dried out. Yeah. And so those kind of attacks can happen in the future. And we haven't that's on the radar for the most of our life. So this is something new that actually a cybersecurity threat has an actual impact on our life and on our production facilities and things like that. Just to have that as a very, very simple example.
Okay, thank you. Roy, can you add something to it?
Yeah,
of course you can.
Analysts, right? Analysts usually can. We usually make stuff up, but I would say that been in cybersecurity for a couple of years. Started actually a cybersecurity company 20 plus years ago. So very familiar with all these things, and it was a zero trust company before it was called Zero Trust. But anyhow, but cybersecurity, as Max and Dewan have indicated, is a huge issue, and I think the community needs to play a huge role in that, starting from the hardware platform itself and mandating trusted platform, mandating secure connectivity, mandating sort of mutual authentication. Also, as carriers, there's an ongoing role they can play in anomaly detection in terms of the connections that are coming through. Likewise, I think the hyperscalers have a role to play too in the analytics and anomaly detection on the data side of things. So I think across the board, across the stack, I think security needs to be baked in, and there's probably a role for the sort of governments to play as well, sort of minimum security standards for devices that are authorized to connect to the systems as well. Likewise, with the way the carriers authorized devices to connect, right? They certify devices to connect. There's no reason why on the IoT front you can't mandate a minimum security standard for connectivity to protect, as the scenario that Max pointed out. It's scary and it's true. It's going to be more widespread. Today we look at SCADA and say, oh, nuclear operating plant, right? We look at utilities and water plants and we say, oh, that's scary. But tomorrow it's going to be literally everywhere, right? It's everywhere because we've digitized everything. So I think at the very minimum, cybersecurity and IoT is a huge issue at a national level, and I think at a carrier and a hyperscaler ecosystem level, there needs to be best practices, mandated standards, and along the lines. Because otherwise, I think the scenario that Max points out will happen. It's not a if. It's a matter of when it will happen and who it will happen to.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the insight, guys. Now, Valentina, you mentioned 5G a zillion times, I think. Yeah. No. But it's all around us. So, which role can 5G play in private networks and IoT solutions being introduced to the market by the players?
So I think it was kind of my duty to talk about the 5G being so big in China. And trying to just give some of the ideas or how some of the solution that has been deployed. And I think the majority of the user cases are always related to real-time information on big number of information, so big, let's say big data to be managed. So in the future, let's say even if we don't want to, we will be in an environment where our insurance company will tell us from one day to another, oh, you have a smart contract now. Your car, the way you drive, the way what you did yesterday, whatever. So we will be we plunge into a real-time life whereby all our actions are reported back to somebody in real time, and then so that will touch the life of everybody. It will touch the life of government, and then industrial application are just major. So the 5G will resolve a lot of issues, but it will also be deployed by will on a lot of different areas. So we need to be ready. On our side, what we are doing is really well deployment in China, of course, but also with the other MNOs start testing the roaming, 5G roaming, and give some, let's say, consultancy or integration suggestion in the ground in Europe. And the application are so many. And yeah, I think this is it.
Okay, cool. Also, we saw in the presentation, and the guys were talking about it as well. You know, the partnerships and Roy, if I may come to you first. Strategic partnerships are needed to build up. I mean, hence to answer the future demands and meet the current requirements. What can you share with us on what your views are on this, on the strategic partnerships? How do you see it? What do you see around you?
Sure. So I think, you know, as both Dewan and Max talked about, you know, the cross-carrier partnerships, and Valentina too, and the cross-carrier partnerships are important in the roaming situation, right, where your devices actually have the mobility that they need to go across regions. And likewise, the partnerships are necessary, like, you know, TIoT, for instance, to make it easy for an automotive manufacturer in one country to basically deploy a single framework, work with single carrier, and have that, you know, as the cars are shipped all over the world, to have those work correctly. So I think the partnership from an inter-carrier standpoint is important from a coverage situation where mobility is part of that IoT equation. But beyond that, what I see as part of the ecosystem is the partnerships between the hardware device manufacturers and the whole ecosystem there, the carriers who provide the connectivity, both for the public network and, as you point out, private 5G is becoming one of the big things too, and as well as the application stack providers. And on the application stack, there's multiple elements on the software side. You have the device management element, you have the analytics element, right? And you also have the application of vertical applications itself, right? Industrial manufacturing, you know, farming and so on. And so what I do see, at least, you know, even from the care perspective, is I see them sort of pulling together all these different ecosystem members to make it work. Like I think in the case of T-Mobile in the US, as, you know, part of DT, you know, there's a farming use case, and they pull together, you know, there's all the application people, obviously the farms involved, the connectivity elements, you know, to pull things together. And on Verizon, you know, you have something like, for instance, Verizon AWS with the on-site 5G, which is the private 5G offering, on-site 5G with AWS Outpost in terms of 5G Edge, and running in Corning Warehouse, right? An IoT use case where they offload some of the intelligence from the AGV, the autonomous guided vehicles, over to an edge compute platform in the private 5G situation. So again, IoT. So I'm seeing a lot of these partnerships from an analyst standpoint across the carriers and the vertical stack providers and the hyperscalers as well, and the device manufacturers sort of come together in terms of very verticalized applications that add value from day one, because it actually solves a real business problem. So that's what we're seeing. It's kind of interesting and exciting because of all the partnerships coming together on the possibilities.
Okay, thank you, Dwayne. He mentioned you. What's your take?
I always mention
right?
him. That's my role on the panel. So mention the one, right? That's every time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Dwayne.
Yeah.
We have a great cadence, Roy. That always works out. So, I mean, the cloud partnerships are important. Roy mentioned the AWS partnership, which we're extremely excited about. We're the first of the carriers to partner with AWS. Since our AWS partnership, we've announced both Azure and Google Cloud partnerships as well. So we continue to, you know, collaborate in that space. And the other thing is that I think in the manufacturing vertical and segment, I think that's where we're seeing the biggest proliferation of both IoT and private 5G and MEC use cases, where we're working with a lot of manufacturing to basically retrofit everything that they're doing in the end, from sensors to supply chain to so forth, on and so forth. So everything that we talked about today, add to it private 5G, the MEC collaborations with the cloud service providers, and then also the interoperability between ourselves and other global carriers when devices need to be shipped outside of the United States.
Okay, thank you. Max, Roy mentioned you quickly. Want anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think the interoperability between carriers and other industry stakeholders, so from manufacturer to cloud providers to lease line providers, so the ecosystem gets bigger and bigger, because in the back in the day it was just a device that we're using that was made for communicating, like a cell phone or mobile phone, later on smartphones, and now there are so many different devices that are jumping on the network, which is fairly new, let's say. Yeah. Okay,
thank you. Looking at the time, guys, we're heading a little bit to the, not a little bit, but we're just, because time is not standing still, we're heading towards the end. Now, Roy, if I may ask you first, people always in the audience are always, and out there actually on the World Wide Web, they're always looking for, let's say, okay, what is there to look out for? What can you scope a bit the future? What's out there for everybody? What should we look out for?
Yeah, well, Eric, this is where I will not mention the metaverse. Well, I think, the metaverse, no matter how you define it, I think there is is sort of the end product of digitization, right? Digitization of the world, the processes of the devices into a digital form where you can program it, you can simulate it, you can do various things to it for business and consumer use. So I think, in that sense, if you define metaverse that way, that's sort of where we're going to end up. But what I would say, from a carrier perspective, what we're seeing is understanding that IoT, let's not just talk about IoT, it's basically digitization of processes, of devices, of people, right? And if you can support that, in a secure manner, in a scalable manner, providing analytics and value add, I think that's a big thing. And so for a lot of carriers, what I anticipate in the near future is the rise of edge, especially around IoT, right, use case. The rise of edge and the use of AI and ML, not just in the cloud, but also driven down to the edge and the devices themselves, in terms of adding value. So I think that's one area that, when we work with carriers, that's one area that I think they should probably, they have more cloud expertise now, as you can see, right, with Max and Dewan. But I think that AI, ML expertise and the edge move, I think those are going to be pretty important in the IoT space, over the next couple of years, in fact.
Okay, thank you. Duan, what's your takeaway?
Takeaway, just excited for the partnership, excited for the future and the opportunity we sit in. I can't do the metaverse, Roy. Those goggles make my eyes and head hurt right now. So
we'll fix it to your retina, the next one. So don't worry about it. They'll get to your eyeballs. Yeah, you'll be fine.
The next version, I think will be a little bit better. But I think the other thing that I think that's interesting as we evolve in this is all of the convergence of these technologies, whether we're talking about Web 3.0, metaverse, the like. I think all of it will draw more attention to 5G and IoT.
Okay, thank you. Max, some famous words from yours.
Thank you. Well, I would say definitely to jump on what Roy just said, edge computing and bringing things to the edge is definitely a hot topic. And also network APIs, where you can steer, or basically a device or user can steer network functionalities, for example, to boost up certain functionalities or to get better priority at a certain use case. For example, if you do an automated valet parking of a car or something like that, you don't want to crash into the next one. So something like that is definitely a hot topic that comes up.
I'll crash in the next one anyway. Trust me, I'll do it anyway. Valentina, from your point of view, what can you give the audience what's quite new? What's your takeaway? What's the future? What will we see even more? Anything else you can share with us?
Yeah, I think the future will keep us young. Because, we learn...
I need that. Trust me, I need that, guys.
We learned that, everything can be in discussion after the pandemic happened. Even the freedom to go out of your door and go out somewhere. So that means that in the mindset of each of us, we need to be ready for any possible option. And business-wise, it will be the same. So the MNOs and the telecoms will have to, let's say, be ready and be agile and be ready to, have their partnership ready, have their 5G roaming ready. And even if the telecoms were already, let's say, a support of the lockdown, because a lockdown wouldn't be politically possible if the network was not there already ready. So the MNOs will have to, will always be kind of in the center of everything that happens, and we need to be ready. So I think I hope the MNO will not lose this race to the future. And we need really to jump on a fast car and really go on the race to the future and not be left behind.
Okay, thank you. And with those words, I would like to end this session. We were talking about the latest IoT technology innovation and development, meeting the enterprise market challenges and opportunities. I would like to thank the audience here live in London at the GCC. I would like to thank you out there. And of course, I couldn't do this with the knowledge, of course, of Dwayne and Roy and Max. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being on our panel. Next time, please, I hope to see you not virtually but live, sitting next to us here around the table. So thank you very much. It has been an honor having you, and thank you for sharing your knowledge with us and all around the world. So thank you so much. And Valentina, thank you for the whole day, actually, because you made and China Mobile International actually brought the IoT Summit in sponsorship together with the Carrier community to us. So thank you very much for this, and wish you all the best, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, that's a wrap. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.